Therapists, today we are talking about the 5 major mistakes therapists make all the time that will totally wreck your practice, burn you out, and maybe even derail your whole career faster than you can say countertransference. But don't worry, these are common mistakes that therapists make, and they are also very avoidable. I'll be giving you a rundown of what these are and also how to avoid them so that you can sidestep these pitfalls. And make sure that you stick with me all the way to the end because I have a ton of free resources for you that will help you continue to learn, grow, and become even more self-aware so that you would never make any of these mistakes. Okay, so let's just jump right in. First of all, the first big mistake that therapists make is not paying enough attention to the therapeutic alliance and having ruptures with clients because of it. So, the biggest reason why therapists struggle in private practice, struggle to create positive outcomes with their clients, is a ruptured therapeutic alliance. And you might be thinking, hey, I know what I'm doing. My clients love me. It's fine. But here's the kicker. Sometimes we can have ruptures in our therapeutic relationships without even realizing what we are doing. Maybe your client is silently experiencing microaggressions. Maybe they do not feel heard by you. Maybe you're talking about yourself too much in your therapy sessions and not even realizing it. Look back in my feed. I have another video around therapists. Are you oversharing? Check that out. But most commonly, you have simply missed signs that there was something that happened in that space in between you and your client. They got upset and now they're gone. They just ghosted and maybe you don't even know why. So here's what to do to avoid that. Lean in to some really awkward conversations and do not wait for your clients to tell you how they feel. You have to ask them. Every session, how was this for you today? How is this feeling between us? Are you getting what you need out of this? Is there anything that I can do differently that would help these sessions feel better or feel more productive for you? And then be receptive to the answer. That's one simple strategy. You can learn a lot more if you go to my podcast feed on Spotify, iTunes, or at my website, growingself.com. Come to the For Therapists section and find why clients ghost. You will get all kinds of insight into other things that can rupture relationships so you have visibility in how to manage this. Okay, next, we're talking about a big mistake that could ruin not just your professional life, but your personal well-being as well, and that is mismanaging boundaries. Okay, so we all know about boundaries. Therapists can have some weird boundaries, but did you know that we can run into problems with boundaries when we're not in the middle with boundaries? If we are too hard, too rigid with our boundaries, or if we are too soft, too flexible with our boundaries, it creates negative outcomes for everyone, including you. Boundaries that are too soft, you answering client emails at midnight, letting your sessions run 15 or 20 minutes over, or oversharing with your client, or accepting clients that are not actually a good fit for you. You should say no to those clients, but when you're like, oh, okay, that is going to create problems. Additionally, on the other side, having too rigid of boundaries will, what do we just talk about? Create ruptures with clients. So you have to find a happy middle ground, or if you do have some deal breaker boundaries, be very clear and intentional about the way that you are communicating them so that you can maintain those client relationships, but stay in the center most of the time because, again, if you're too flexible, that is so problematic, not just for your clients, but for you. It will burn you out and could potentially even lead to ethical complaints. particularly if you start practicing outside your scope of expertise because of some of these boundary things. So pay really clear attention to boundaries. Now, part of having boundaries is related to taking care of yourself, right? If we don't have boundaries, we get burned out. And another really common mistake that therapists make is neglecting their own self-care. So let's talk about what that really means for therapists, because it's different for us than it is for other professions. First of all, friend to friend here, how is your self-care game? Are you taking all that good advice that you give your clients and doing the things that you encourage them to do? I'm not always either, but I tell you what, when I don't, I feel it. I do not feel good. If I am not exercising, paying attention to drinking, even just drinking enough water throughout the day when I'm in sessions back to back, there are foundational pillars of self-care that every therapist needs to be doing very intentionally all the time. It is our job to take care of ourselves. We cannot do what we do without it. So if this is something that you have been neglecting, it is time to put together a robust self-care plan. Of course, I have podcasts and videos on this topic, but I have another free resource for you. If you come to my website, growingself.com, go to the For Therapists section, you will find a free assessment that creates visibility into whether or not you are heading towards burnout. It will catch things that you might not even be aware of yet, and it will give you a report that shows you the areas that you need to be paying attention to, like stat, in order to prevent serious burnout from overtaking you, your career, and your personal life. And self-care is one piece of that, but there are other dimensions of burnout that most therapists don't even think about. So come take this assessment and you will get a customized report with your scores, but also recommendations and a free resource to help you create a really robust self-care plan. And you have to. If you don't do this, it will prevent you from being able to do a good job as a therapist. You will be cranky. You will start to lose empathy. You will feel irritated by your clients. You will miss things, and your personal life will be impacted too. So you have to take care of yourself. Your homework, take that assessment, and then make that list. What is my self-care plan? And follow through. Now, let's talk about the fourth biggest mistake that therapists make all the time, which is not staying in their professional lane. I alluded to this a minute ago when we were talking about boundaries, but here's what I'm talking about is practicing within your scope of competence. And this happens all the time. It can happen when a new client approaches you and wants to be your client and is asking about, can you help me with a substance use disorder? You specialize in eating disorders, not substance use disorders, but they don't know that. Clients think that all therapists are the same, that we know a lot of stuff about all kinds of different things. And as a general practitioner, you probably know a little bit about a lot of things, but your area of expertise is different. But if especially you are a therapist that has been making one of the other mistakes that I'll tell you about here in a second, which is private practice business mistakes, and your private practice is struggling, you are going to have a lot of motivation to say, sure, to that client when you should really be redirecting them. Additionally, operating outside your scope of competence can sneak up on you. And in this situation, you have an existing relationship with a client. Maybe you've worked with them a long time, done great work. They're happy campers. They came to you for help figuring out relationships or emotional intelligence. But now things have evolved for them and they need to figure out what they're doing next with their career. Do they change careers? Do they try to find a different job? Can you look at their resume? Like going into career counseling territory. Maybe you know a little bit about career counseling. You had one class in grad school like I did, but are you a career counselor? It's knowing that and making an appropriate referral that's going to keep you out of trouble. So it's very important to have a good, solid system in place to help you understand what are the signs that you're starting to practice outside your scope of competence, and what are your internal practices and business practices that will prevent you from getting in trouble. Check out a past podcast / video that I did on this, signs you are practicing outside your scope of competence. Stay out of trouble. I made it for you. Check it out. Lots of information there. Okay, now, very lastly, there are private practice business blunders that will really mess therapists up. And it's a reality. I mean, if you are a solo private practitioner, you may be an excellent therapist. And it is also true that there are a lot of other things that you need to be thinking about and doing if you want to have a private practice that survives, let alone thrives. So here are some of the common pitfalls you have to be thinking about, like saving money for taxes, right? Setting it aside in a separate account. Also, ignoring marketing, because word of mouth is not actually enough. And if you are entirely beholden on getting referrals from a third-party payer like an insurance company, that gets real old real fast. You will be underpaid and overworked. I have talked about this a lot on previous podcasts. You can check out, is it time to get out of the medical model? And also, this is an opportunity to consider expanding your professional niche into things that will help you break free from the medical model, like more self-pay clients and less health insurance claims. But also, when you get clear about your professional niche, it can help you with that all-important private practice marketing as well. Now, in addition to those pieces, there are also really common mistakes like keeping your paperwork updated, making sure that everything is current, insurance policies, records, maintaining confidentiality around your record-keeping systems, making sure they're secure. There are a lot of things to think about. And as a solo practitioner without an IT department, like, it is on you. So figure out a way to spend some time on those things. Accounting, IT, security, marketing, but also that professional development that will help you grow. Now, one fantastic way to do this is by thinking about your professional development goals. And to support you in this, I have developed a free resource. It is a free 2-part training. You can download it on my website, growingself.com/coach. Even if you don't want to learn how to be a coach, part 1 of this training will help you get clarity around what is your professional niche, what are your career goals, and develop a vision for your solo private practice, for your career, whatever that is, that incorporates really important things like your self-care, your personal life, your mental and emotional well-being, and helps you create that clarity. So it's a video lesson with me. It's also a workbook with a lot of different journaling exercises. And certainly, if you are exploring other career development options, including becoming a certified coach as a path to kill a lot of birds with one stone that we've been talking about today. So related to the health of your practice, related to things like marketing, related to not operating outside the scope of your practice, like saying yes to coaching clients that you would like to work with when you actually haven't been trained or certified as a coach. This could be a game changer for you, honestly, but you can learn more about it all for free. So lastly, I want to give you one more free resource. We've been talking a lot about different podcasts and videos, things for you to be thinking about and continuing to learn about. We talked about why therapy clients ghost. We talked about, are you talking too much in your therapy session? We talked about getting away from the medical model. We talked about ethical pitfalls for therapists, and you can find all of those in my feed. But I think the most important one for you to be thinking about next in the spirit of professional development is how to identify your niche as a therapist. I'm putting this video right here in front of you. Click click on that. We'll keep going to help you get clarity around who you are, what is your area of expertise, how to define that so that you're never operating outside the scope of your expertise, but also how to use that awareness to build a stronger and more successful and honestly more satisfying practice. So click on that. We'll keep going. And if this has been helpful to you, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can do this again sometime. All right, take care.